The final thing I want to discuss in the rotator cabinet window is the microphone. The Vintage B3 provides modeled microphones that actually pick up the sound of the Leslie cabinet. Well, at least emulate the sound of the microphones picking up the Leslie cabinet. And you can pick what type of microphones you want and set different parameters here. And one of the first things you can do is you can choose the position of the microphones. You can say, I want the mics on the front of the Leslie cabinet, or you can say, I want to mic from the rear. Right? In the front, it's going to give you a different sound. And the rear is going to give you a different sound. Next, you can actually choose what kind of mics you want for your horns and for your drum rotor. So if I click here, I get to choose between a dynamic mic, SM57, and a dynamic mic is going to be a much more brighter sound that'll cut through in your mix maybe a little bit better. Or I can choose a condenser microphone, U87. And the U87 is going to give me a transparent, high quality studio recording or studio sound, if you will. And also here, I get to choose between a mid-side AKG C414s. And this will give me a mid-side configuration with two microphones and a stereo pickup pattern here. So let's hear the differences in these here. The mid-side. Just concentrate on the horn. Condensers. And dynamic. Much brighter here, right? A little bit warmer there. Now you have the same options of choosing mics for your bass rotor or your bass drum, as some call it. And the only difference is your dynamic mic is different, EV RE20. And so you have a dynamic, condenser, and you have the mid-side. So let's balance towards the drum and listen to that. So the dynamic, condenser, much wider sound with the mid-side, right? A lot of cool things you can do there. Now, you can also make some changes. You have the ability to affect the microphone processing. And it just depends on which cabinet you have selected. You may have noticed when I go to a different cabinet, you don't see any microphones. So you assume I don't have any ability to do anything with microphones. Well, the only difference is you don't have the ability to choose what type of microphone. You can't choose between dynamic, condenser, or mid-side, but you still have the ability to affect mic processing, actually different parameters than you do if you can actually see the mics. So let's go back to the real cabinet. The real cabinet is the only one that's going to actually show you microphones and give you the ability to go to the rear or to the front and change microphones. But your mic processing is a little bit different. The first knob here is for the stereo width of the horn mic. This last knob, which you've already seen me use, is the balance. It allows me to balance between the horn mics or the drum mics. So I'm going to balance toward the horn mics just so you can hear what's happening here. This gives it the stereo width. And this is a stereo spread microphone technique, basically two microphones spread left and right, going to the left and right channels. And if I crank it all the way up to its max here at 1, then it's the widest stereo image that these mics will give me. If I go back, it'll get more monophonic. And this works the same way for the drum mic. So on the drum mic, I do have it set up with a mid-side right now. And to the far right, it's the maximum stereo width. Comes more centered and monophonic as I go back towards the left. Now, the real cabinet type is the only Leslie emulation that will allow you to choose different mics and choose to position the mics on the front or the rear of the Leslie cabinet. But if you go to any of the other cabinet types, you actually still have microphones, but you don't choose what kind of microphone, and you can't choose to put it on the front or the rear. And your mic processing is a little different. So again, on the real cabinet, you had the ability to adjust the stereo width of the horn and the drum, and then you had the balance between them. And then anything else, you have a distance knob, an angle knob, and you have your balance knob. So the distance knob will allow me to move the mic on or off axis from the actual Leslie cabinet. Moving it further away or more to the right will give me a more kind of rolled off high frequency sound, kind of filtering some of the high frequencies off. And then the closer I get on axis, it'll be a little bit brighter sound. And then the angle will affect the stereo effect or the stereo width of the image. So let's listen real fast. So with the angle, you can go from 0 degrees, basically straight on, all the way to 180 degrees off axis. And then the distance, like I said, when it's to the left, it's closer to the cabinet. And as I move it to the right, it's further away. Some very subtle changes there.